Hello, everyone. Welcome to LDS Women Thriving. I'm here today with my dear friend, Brittany Remund. I knew Brittany back in high school when I lived in New Mexico, and I just love her. She's a wonderful person. And it's been very humbling for me, excuse me, over the years to watch her go through this journey that she's going to share about and learn from her strength and also perseverance in the face of something very hard. So I'm going to read a little bit about her. Excuse me. We're going to edit this out. Okay. Brittany Remund grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She is the fourth of 5 children. She loves art, music, science, math, and the outdoors, so lots of things. She loved hiking and camping in the foothills of Albuquerque. She enjoyed band in school and ended up as a drum major in the high school marching band. When she was 16, she ended up with a flu bug that ended up kicking off what the doctors think was an autoimmune process to shut down her digestive system. The years between then and now have been spent in and out of hospitals, specialists at various clinics around the country, and taking a ride on the roller coaster that is being chronically ill. Definitely not a roller coaster that anyone signs up for.
I've never really liked roller coasters anyway.
Well, is there anything that you would add to the bio that I just shared?
No, that's pretty much, that's just about
That's
it.
life. Okay. So I would like for you to share what have been some of your most impactful life lessons that you have learned over these years.
There have been lots. Pretty big ones. One of the biggest for me I've learned is to trust in God and to trust in Christ. Because with the health journey that I've had, there have been a lot of unknowns. There have been a lot of surprises that weren't so great. And things that have happened that have been really, truly scared us. But the Lord's hand has been there every step of the way. He has a plan. And that's that kind of goes into the next, is remembering the bigger perspective. That all of this that we go through in life is a part of His plan. He knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows what growth we need to have. He knows what trials we can take. And He provides, whether it be, solutions, or if it's comfort or strength, and being able to focus on the why when you go through things definitely helped. Dark nights, being able to turn to the Lord and feel of His support and His love for us. And having that perspective also took a lot of fear out of my life, because I know that no matter what happens, there's life after death, and that He will lift me up and He will get me through. And He will provide support, whether it be through the many miracles that we've seen or through the acts of others. He will provide. I've also, do not allow yourself to withdraw within yourself. It's easy to fall into a hole, kind of just withdrawing within oneself, and it's really hard to get out. It's easier to dig the hole than it is to climb out. It's easier said than done sometimes. Through the support of others, and having people there to throw down a rope or help remind you of the perspective, or if it's through reaching out to others. I found as I reach out to and serve other people and focus on helping them, my problems seem not so bad. And if anything, it's a distraction from it.
It's true. And
Yep.
it's interesting, isn't it, how like we're all on this earth together going through our individual trials, our individual journeys, but we get to go through it together. And if
Yeah.
anything, we can try to be a help to each other as we're each going through our own Gethsemanes, our own
Yes.
hardships.
Yes. Yep. We can suffer together. It's better to suffer together than alone.
That's very true.
He's being tested.
Who do you feel like has helped you remain strong in this, in your life?
Definitely, I have a couple, more than a couple. I've got multitudes, but the biggest ones, my family, for sure. My mom and dad have had to go through the ringer with me and have had to watch me going through some very difficult things. There have been times when they weren't sure I was going to make it. I've had some very, very close calls, and so they've had to repeatedly be faced with decisions and possibilities of no thing a parent should have to face. But they've always managed to make me smile. They've always managed or known how to remind me of the bigger picture and remind me that God is there. There are times when, it's in the darkest of times, my parents have come and yanked me back into the and they have stood by my side unwaveringly. They've defended me. They've also reminded me that I don't know everything, and that it's important to remember the times that you're wrong, and so they're not afraid to get me on back on the right path. Also, my siblings, they've kept me smiling and laughing through it, and each of them have gone above and beyond in checking up on, they're checking up or coming and spending time with me, and but also not making me feel like I'm sick. It's just, I'm still Brittany, and whether I'm in the hospital bed or run around on my crutches or
Yes.
they don't see the illness. They recognize that I'm still Brittany.
They see you.
Yep. And they help me live life.
That's so awesome. You have the best family. I really do love your family.
I really do. I couldn't ask for a better support system. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Absolutely not.
That's amazing. You're amazing, truly. At least in my eyes, at least with what you've had to endure. And it's really cool that you've been able to have your family bolster you up through this. Your family's awesome as well.
They are. And I've had some friends, a couple who were also chronically ill, that over the course of time they were huge support in not feeling so alone in things that I was going through, and someone to freak out with, or or even to help provide strength for them as well, because there's a lot of strength to be had in strengthening others as well.
Yeah.
And seeing others going through their journeys inspires me. That's just one of the big things. Is I find there's inspiration everywhere. Everyone has things that they're doing that remind me either of little things or of big things. Just being there. And,
I love that. How do you feel like your relationship with God and Jesus Christ have developed in this trial? And I would also add, how have you maintained faith in God during this trial?
it's certainly grown a lot closer. Beforehand, of course, I knew that they were a big part of my life, and but I truly learned what it means to rely on and trust in God. I've grown to understand all that He does for us, everything that He puts in place for us to have success and to find that true happiness. I feel like I understand a little better why we go through things. kind of hard to put into words, because I feel a lot closer to them. At the beginning of all of this, with all of the uncertainties, there was a lot of fear and frustration, because it took a year for us to officially get a diagnosis, and I know that some people it takes much, much longer. But when you're getting test after test come back normal, and
yes,
it's like, well, there's
like,
still
what
something
is wrong then?
Exactly. It's like, I'm tired of having these normal tests, and it's like going and groping in the darkness, trying to find your way. And it's that analogy of like the iron rod of sorts. Having that relationship, finding that trust in Christ, and holding on to that faith, that rod of iron, and just having someone to hold on to who can see and navigate through these twisting turns and uncertain times, and also humbling to accept that help, and to realize that it's okay to accept help. It's okay to approach them and ask for help, and to realize that there's that uncertainty and that fear. Holding on, it took that fear factor away for me, and helped our family immensely, because we know that whatever happens, Heavenly Father meant for it to happen, and He will provide.
He will provide. And I'd say that goes to any trial that we ever experience in this life. Is usually there comes moments of mists of darkness where we just have to choose to have faith and keep walking forward and clinging to what we know to be true, and our faith in God, and then He leads us through it. But that's why we're here on this earth, to grow faith.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it's going to be easy in any way.
Yep. There have been times, leading to a diagnosis was mists of darkness everywhere, kind of the deal.
And what were some of your symptoms that you were going through as you were just trying to figure out what was going on?
Well, it started out as what we thought was the flu. So it was just nausea, vomiting, unable to keep down any food, dizzy, and it started as staying home from school a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and all of that time not being able to keep down any food or liquids. Those were the leading symptoms.
Yeah, and I can only imagine for anyone that has to go through that, being like, what is wrong? What do I do?
Yes, and there's all you go through the, well, is this just all in my head sort of thing, but going back to trusting in the Lord, He led us forward through one way or another.
And currently, just so that everybody knows a little bit more, like, what does life look like right now? Since then, what has changed with your health?
So leading up to now, as mentioned in the little opening, I spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals. With the diagnosis of the digestive tract paralysis, I had a lot of infections, blood infections, because I received my nutrition through the bloodstream and catheter that it administers through. It got infected a lot because the gut was allowing bacteria to pass through the walls of the intestines into the bloodstream. And so every couple of months, I would spend a couple of weeks in the hospital. Some of them spent in the ICU. And so it's kind of been an up and down of going in the hospital and then coming home and then building back up through physical therapy and healing from the infections, to then going back in the hospital. And that was up until last year. It was pretty much that cycle, in and out. We recently have figured out a care plan that we one of the doctors, we focused on more preventive measures that we hadn't tried in the past. And so far, it's 7 months out of the hospital.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. I was trying to think the last time I wasn't in the hospital for that period of time, and it was since like 2012. And right now, life for me I'm still rebuilding physically, but I'm able to interact more because of fallout from chronic illnesses. I'm not able to do a lot.
Yeah.
But I am able to go out and excursions, short excursions, and our doctor appointments, but those are hardly social calls, right?
Yes.
But I'm able to do my art all day. I'm able to interact with, the dogs we have.
Yes.
Dad and I are learning Spanish together.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and so I'm able to engage in more activities, and the focus is less on treating acute illness and more managing the chronic symptoms, which means that I'm progressing instead of recovering. With the infections being in the bloodstream, some have led to an infection in the spine, both my thoracic and lumbar. I've had infection that has left me with chronic pain that severely limits my mobility, my activity levels, just how much I'm able to tolerate, even just something as simple as driving in a car. Road trips are always really taxing, partly because of the pain, and then also other infections have led to my lungs, both with like pneumonia or filling with fluid, and I've had a pulmonary embolism, so the blockage of partially collapsed lung. It's not come back, and so I'm on the oxygen all the time. And due to the frequency of the pneumonia and that infection, that just chronic respiratory problems, and the infections also have caused some problems with blood clots. And my right leg has flaccid paralysis, so it's paralyzed. They don't know why. One day I was hiking and it just gave out. It stopped working, and so it requires that I use forearm crutches to navigate, and for longer distances I have a wheelchair, both because mobility and then also energy as well. So a lot of the outdoors activities that I used to do are kind of off the list. I used to love, I was a hardcore backpacker with family, and archery and kayaking and swimming.
I want to ask you a question about that. I feel like some of our listeners probably are going through similar situations where they've had to let go of some things they love to do because of their health. What was that like for you to just be able to cope with that? And yeah, just understanding, I guess.
Yes, it's hard. Still sometimes is, because I thrive in the mountains. It's I've learned there are ways to adapt, whether it be handicapped accessible trails, or even there are national parks that have adaptive measures that they can help with, that the parks themselves can help with, to allow for the enjoyment to still, they're still available. There are some things that I won't be able to do ever again, like swimming. Or I've learned that I don't have to be the one like swimming to enjoy. I can go and enjoy the atmosphere. Sometimes I probably wouldn't go to like a water park just to go and watch people.
Yeah.
Or go to a swimming pool just to watch people swim. But like if it's like at a lake or a river, things like that, sitting there by the water is very, very calming to me. And I'm still able to get out in the kayak. I just be really careful that I don't go further than I can, or flip if I get wet. There are a lot of things that cannot get wet.
Yes.
But
Kayaking is a blast.
yeah, but I've had to learn how to do things differently. For a while, I was able to do small little hikes with my mom in some of the lower, less steep trails, even if it was just, a small 5-minute excursion, just going and walking a little ways, or, crushing down the trail, or having my dad push me around in the wheelchair. I used to like to go biking a lot. That was a hard one, not being able to do. But my dad, he took we had a bike trailer for little kids, and he turned it into almost like a chariot sort of a thing, and he turned it into a trailer for
Nice.
Britain. And so he'll pull me around in that, in the neighborhood, and along the canals and things like that. And so I'm still able to get out and feel the wind in my hair, well, through the helmet, but
Yes.
all behind my noble steed, my father deer.
Oh,
or just family pushing me around in the wheelchair, getting out and still being able to enjoy. Maybe not go out on hardcore hikes or
yeah.
things like that. Still being able to find joy in the environment and learning to find joy elsewhere. But it is hard to have to come to the realization that you have to move on from some things.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things with that for me is finding joy, finding other things that I enjoy doing, not necessarily to replace, but to enrich what it means to live, what it in other ways, like those slower strolls down the road. I mean, I always enjoyed those, and taking those small opportunities, even just small little excursions, do wonders. The worst thing would be to just stop doing things.
Yeah. Just pull into yourself and stop living.
Yep. Actively find ways to live and to find fulfillment. That's been one of the big things for me is, where am I able to find fulfillment? Because it's easy to, it's when your life plan changes from what you had envisioned, feeling fulfilled and feeling like you're not wasting, like not a waste per se. Because before I was sick, I, being very active and very involved in my school and band, I had a whole plan. I was going to go to school for mechanical engineering, and then either being like an aeronautical engineer and play trumpet and piano. I can still play piano. Trumpet, I don't have the lung capacity for it right now, but that'd be great therapy for it. But I was on track to, be one of the valedictorians. And high school, I was able to finish. I was salutatorian because I got to be in one of the classes just because I couldn't be there for all of it. But I had amazing teachers who worked with me, and so that regard, people are all there. People are willing to help and adapt things and still help you to move forward. And so I was able to continue and complete high school. But instead of my life being, because everyone looked at me as the person who's going to go to MIT and change the world with my
Lots of hopes and dreams.
Yep. And I don't even have a bachelor's. I was unable to finish college because I was in and out of the hospital for much. I'm still learning. I'm always learning. There are always opportunities to learn. It doesn't have to be in the classroom. It doesn't have to be for a grade. I still voraciously devour any type of information that I can. I'm very, so always keeping mind active. It's
I love that.
For being able to overcome the disappointment of having to change them. And it's discovering a new life plan, because there's still life to be lived.
I love that. Because, yeah, I feel like a lot of these, especially chronic health challenges, come out of nowhere. No one plans for them. And then you have a life plan, you have hopes and dreams, and then things just suddenly change. And you almost, just like you said, have to almost go through a mourning of what won't be. But then, like you said, to, like with education, find other ways to learn and grow and find other things that make life fulfilling and beautiful. And for anyone that right now is having to like make this similar life changes, what would you tell them?
Don't lose hope. Don't lose sight of the light behind the darkness. There are people out there who will support you. Don't give up looking for that support. Whether, even if it's not in like family, there's support. Turn to the Lord, because He is the best support you can ever ask for. Things may seem dark and confusing, and the path might not seem clear. It might be scary, but please know that our Heavenly Father loves me very much, and He has a plan for each and every one of us. His hand is there. Something I like to do is write down different ways that His hand is in my life, and the more I do that, the more I see His hands in my life and in others. But you're never alone. Even in the darkest of nights, in the scariest hospital rooms, He's there. And He has people that He will send in your life, and also doors He will open for you. And don't give up. Never give up.
No.
Give up on you.
No, He won't. And in those dark times, I feel like, life it just goes like this. You're going to have moments where you're in despair, utter despair, and frustrating situations and difficulty. And I like what you said about how, you focus on the good and you'll find it. And you focus on the light and you invite God into your life, because He will take the darkest of nights. Like I love that. He'll take the darkest of nights and bring it into light. Help you find peace and joy. Never give up. What do you feel like are some of the most beautiful experiences you've had over the last years of going through this?
A lot of my beautiful experiences, some of the big ones, I was more or less unconscious. There was a time when I was in for an infection in the ICU, and I was doing okay. I was in ICU, so it was a great situation. The head doctor, the attending, but he felt like he needed to do an echo, an ultrasound of my heart. As he was doing the ultrasound, he had noticed that the line, the catheter that is used to provide my medications and nutrition through the bloodstream, that's called a central line. He had noticed that it was not correctly functioning, in that it was pumping fluid into the sac that's around the heart. It's called pericardium, and was restricting my heart's beating. In that instant, he knew that my heart was going to stop. And he's like, get the cart, she's going to code, she's going to crash, her heart is going to stop. And he was able to get the cardiologist down, and they were doing, about my heart stopped, and they called the code. They were doing CPR for 15 minutes. Mom and Dad were both there. And the doctors were like, do you want us to stop? And they said no. They were able to get the heart started again, because this doctor had followed that impression to do the ultrasound, and everything was in place. The cardiologist was able to come down and drain the sac, and it was a very hard hit to my body. Went into multiple organs that were failing. I had to be on dialysis, and I was unconscious in a coma for a good while. They at first were not seeing any brain activity and were not hopeful. But Mom and Dad kept in that faith, and when the doctors approached them, it's like, well, we're not seeing any activity, we're not expecting her to make it out of this. Do you want us to stop the health life preventive measures? And they're like, well, it needs to show some sign of activity. And in that moment, I started to show signs of brain activity. Was able to recover from that really unscathed.
Wow.
No lasting effects, no mental deficiency.
You're able to learn Spanish now.
Yep, exactly. And it was a long recovery from that, but I'm back from that and the heart is strong as ever.
Wow.
And just everything fell into place.
God wants you here.
Yeah. Yep. For some reason, I've still got a place here. I still have things I need to do. And that's one of the biggest ones. Even from death's door, he's been there.
I feel prompted to ask you another question, and you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable with this. But if I'm sure with different illnesses, there's moments where people feel like they just can't do this anymore. But yet God, they're still breathing, they're still living, they're still here. What would you tell them to hang on, to just keep moving forward?
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is. I have loved ones and friends that are in this situation, and it's not an easy one. It's probably, in my opinion, probably the hardest aspect of this is that.
It is. I know that life feels like it's fairly worth living, and feel like just we've had enough. Don't feel ashamed for feeling this. Because it's not fair to have to be faced with these things. It's scary, terrifying, facing these hardships, any hardships. Fear here still. For me, it's always been finding things to live for. Finding things that would make what you're going through, like finding things to look forward to. When I was approached by a team assigned to help patients transition to hospice, they told me they expected I was not going to live longer than a couple of months. That was 2 years ago. When I realized what they were telling me, it had given me the opportunity to ask, what does living mean? And am I ready to rest, to be finished? Talking about my grandma in hospice recently, it gave me an opportunity to write down my thoughts on the matter. So it's, are you ready to be done? Are you at the point that you're ready to pass? Do you want to stop? What is your first gut response and your reactionary answer? Now take a step back. Why did you react or respond in the way that you did? Was it fear, death, the unknown, how those that you leave will be impacted? And what not dying means, what lies ahead, like a cloudy storm, what is the future? You feel sorrow for loss, or things not done, words not said, life not lived for those left behind. You're desperate, no more pain, physical or mental. Or if you feel that you're a burden on loved ones regarding their caregiving roles, there's no better time than to earnestly pray for peace, for a clear mind, so that you might be able to ponder and think about these things and write down your thoughts too. Because that is a hard question. It's a hard place to be in. I've had friends that have come to that place before and choose to be done. Just always remember where God is. Look for Him in your life, and He will lead you to finding peace. Whether it's through, still continuing on and finding what it means to live life, to what it means to finding peace in your situation, knowing that He is there for us, and if you're still here, it's for a reason. Seeking that answer, even there's power in blessing of many, many, countless, and He's always there to hear you and to listen and never feel ashamed asking for blessing. Heavenly Father wants it to come to them, and there are people that can help us with that too. But always look for God and come to Him and approach Him.
That was beautiful. These things are not easy.
Yep.
But this is life.
Yep.
This is life on earth.
Yep.
What do you feel like? I'm gonna ask you 2 more questions to finish up. One is, what have you learned about yourself during these health challenges?
I've learned I can be very stubborn and resilient. I've always been one who likes to adapt and to figure out my solutions with whatever I've got on hand. Sometimes with health problems, that doesn't work. You can't MacGyver. And I've learned also, though, that I still have fulfillment. I can still make a huge impact on the world through even my small means. I've learned that I'm a lot more of a people person than I ever thought. Going into this, I was painfully shy. My first hospitalization, I barely talk to anybody except just to answer questions that the doctors were asking me. But I've learned that I can communicate, I can advocate for myself, I can be strong in places that I never really expected that I need to be, that I can rise to the challenge.
You can do hard things.
Yep.
And that's the thing, I feel like with every trial is we will always learn the new things about ourselves, and even sometimes how far we can go, like how much we can handle, especially if we have the Lord with us.
Absolutely.
What is your last advice to those enduring similar trials as you?
Keep smiling. There's always look for the light. Reach out to others. Don't be afraid to ask for help, for comfort, for advice. It's hold on and keep close to the Lord. Hold on to Him and He'll lift you up.
Thank you, Brittany. Well, just so you all know, I really do respect and love Brittany. She's helped me in some of my trials. I got surgery last year on my foot, and she was texting me through the experience, which was really, really helpful. So
Well, you've helped me through a great deal. You're one of the only people who, has stuck around for all of it. So
well, we gotta be there for each other. This life is crazy. Thank you again for your time and for being here with us, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you again as well. This was good.